When Child's Play hit theaters in 1988, audiences expected a simple horror film about a creepy doll. What they got instead was something far more shocking, a twisted story about a child's toy possessed by the soul of a sadistic serial killer. It was strange, unsettling, and unforgettable. Over the years, the movie has gained legendary status, spawning sequels, reboots, and even a television series. But behind the plastic grin of Chucky lies a story filled with creative disputes, strange coincidences, near disasters, and eerie real-life parallels. This was not an easy movie to make. The production faced skepticism, controversy, and technical challenges that pushed everyone to their limits. Yet the result was a horror masterpiece that changed the genre forever. Today we're going to uncover 15 weird, unsettling, and fascinating facts about Child's Play that reveal how much stranger the story behind the film really was. The original script was completely different before. Chucky became a killer doll possessed by a murderer's soul. Screenwriter Don Mancini wrote a very different story. His first draft was called Blood Buddy. In this version, the doll wasn't possessed at all. It was a toy that came to life through a mix of fake blood and the child's own DNA. The idea was that the doll represented the dark side of consumerism and violent children's entertainment. The plot focused more on Andy's psychological connection to the doll than on supernatural horror. The studio, however, wanted something more thrilling and commercial, so Mancini reluctantly added the idea of a soul transfer, turning the story into a supernatural slasher. The title, Batteries Not Included, was stolen before filming began. Originally, Mancini wanted to name his screenplay Batteries Not Included. But before Child's Play entered production, Steven Spielberg had already registered that title for his own science fiction film about alien robots. The loss of the title frustrated Mancini, but ironically, the battery theme became one of Child's Play's scariest moments. The shocking scene when Karen opens Chucky's back and discovers that there are no batteries inside. That single detail became one of the most iconic reveals in horror history. The story was inspired by real 1980s toy culture in the 1980s. Toy companies were competing fiercely to sell interactive dolls. The My Buddy and Cabbage Patch Kids lines were incredibly popular at the time. Mancini used this craze as his inspiration, creating the fictional good guy dolls that would become Chucky's disguise. He wanted the film to show how marketing manipulates children's emotions and how kids are taught to form emotional attachments to consumer products. Ironically, after the movie came out, sales of the real My Buddy dolls dropped drastically because parents thought they looked too much like Chucky. Brad Dourif almost didn't voice Chucky, the man who gave Chucky his unforgettable voice. Brad Dourif was not originally available for the role. Dourif had worked with director Tom Holland before on Fatal Beauty, but scheduling conflicts kept him from recording the voice sessions at first. The production team tried out several other actors, none of whom captured the sinister humor they needed. When Dourif finally recorded his lines, his mix of menace and sarcasm was so perfect that it became impossible to imagine anyone else as Chucky. The voodoo curse was added at the last minute in Mancini's early drafts. The doll's evil behavior was psychological or mechanical, not supernatural. But the producers wanted a clear horror hook. To justify Chucky's human personality, the writers added the opening sequence showing serial killer Charles Lee Ray using a voodoo chant to transfer his soul into the doll. The now famous words, Ada Due Dambala, give me the power I beg of you, were invented completely for the movie. The line sounded ancient and mysterious enough that audiences believed it was based on real rituals, though it was pure fiction. Andy's young actor was protected from the truth. Alex Vincent, who played 6-year-old Andy Barkley, was too young to understand that he was starring in a violent horror film. Director Tom Holland shielded him from the darker scenes, never letting him see the gory parts or Chucky's violent acts. To Alex, Chucky was just a fun puppet character. Only years later, when he watched the full movie, did he realize what his character had gone through. His genuine innocence on screen made Andy one of the most believable child characters in horror history. Chucky was, operated by an entire team of puppeteers. Chucky was one of the most complex animatronics ever built for a horror film at the time. It took a team of up to 11 people to control every detail, his facial expressions, eyes, lips, and even finger movements. The puppet's head alone contained dozens of tiny servos and wires. Some scenes combined puppetry with a small actor in a full Chucky costume for walking shots. Coordinating it all was a nightmare, and the filmmakers often spent entire nights trying to make a single expression look natural. The set became an emotional battlefield. Director Tom Holland and writer Don Mancini constantly clashed on set. Mancini wanted a dark satire about consumerism and childhood innocence corrupted by marketing, while Holland wanted a more straightforward horror thriller. Their creative tension reached a boiling point several times during filming. Crew members recall heated arguments about the tone of the film. Although the fights caused stress, the combination of their visions gave Child's Play a unique balance of horror and black comedy that made it unforgettable. The puppet sometimes seemed to move by itself. Some crew members claimed that Chucky would move when no one was controlling him. One technician reported seeing the doll's eyes flick open after the power was shut down. Another said that Chucky's mouth twitched when everyone had gone home for the night. Of course, these were likely electrical malfunctions or random servo glitches, but after spending weeks filming with a talking doll, even professionals started to get uneasy. Many refused to be alone in the room with the puppet. MGM almost canceled the movie entirely. The original studio behind Child's Play was MGM, but after screening early cuts of the film, executives grew nervous. They feared backlash from parents and religious groups for making a movie about a child's toy murdering people. Some worried it would hurt their reputation as a family-friendly studio. MGM came close to shelving the film permanently. Eventually, United Artists purchased the rights and released it, turning what could have been a forgotten project into one of the biggest horror successes of the decade. The final battle took weeks to film. The fiery climax in which Karen and Detective Norris fight the Burned. Broken Chucky was incredibly difficult to shoot. The animatronic puppet melted and malfunctioned under the heat of pyrotechnics, forcing the effects crew to rebuild it repeatedly. Each repair took days, and filming the entire sequence stretched over 3 exhausting weeks. The result, though, was worth it. Few horror endings have matched the intensity of Chucky's seemingly endless return from destruction. The doll's full name came from real murderers at site. Name Charles Lee Ray wasn't chosen at random. It's a combination of 3 infamous killers, Charles Manson, Lee Harvey Oswald, and James Earl Ray. Don Mancini wanted Chucky to have a name that carried real-life evil associations. The friendly nickname Chucky gave it an extra layer of irony, sweet and innocent on the surface, deadly underneath. 3. The film sparked moral panic around the world after the movie's release. Several newspapers and parent groups accused Child's Play of inspiring violent behavior in children. Years later, when a tragic real-life murder occurred in England, tabloids blamed Child's Play 3 for influencing the attackers, even though there was no evidence. The moral panic lasted for years, with activists calling for bans on the film. Ironically, this controversy only made Chucky more famous and cemented his place as a pop culture villain. The crew developed a superstition around Chucky during filming. The cast and crew began treating the Chucky puppet like a real person. They even gave it a designated chair between takes and referred to it as him, not it. Whenever accidents happened on set, such as broken lights or technical failures, people jokingly blamed Chucky's curse. By the end of production, many admitted that they couldn't look at dolls the same way again. Chucky changed horror forever before Child's Play. Horror villains were usually human or monstrous creatures, never a child's toy. Chucky broke the mold, combining a sense of humor with genuine terror. He wasn't just scary. He was entertaining, unpredictable, and even charismatic. The film's success led to multiple sequels, a remake and eventually a television series, proving that the idea of a possessed doll still has the power to scare audiences decades later. Child's Play, 1988, stands as one of the most original and unsettling horror films ever made. What began as a strange script about consumer culture became a terrifying legend that continues to haunt viewers to this day. Behind every scream and every dark laugh was a team of artists, engineers, and performers who pushed the limits of technology and imagination. More than 30 years later, Chucky remains one of horror's most iconic figures, a symbol of innocence twisted into evil. His story reminds us that horror doesn't always come from monsters or ghosts. Sometimes it comes from the things we trust the most. So if you ever hear a doll whisper, "Hi, I'm Chucky, wanna play?" just remember, some toys never stop playing.